Howdy, everyone. Welcome to the Monday Morning Coach Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder, joined by my awesome co-host, King James Stallcup. We're going to bring you this week's college and pro, what happened in the football land this week. And it was a lot of fun. I had a blast, got crushed on my fantasy. I think I lost 2. I still won in the Chatter League, so that was kind of good. But already looks like we got John up in the house. What's up, John?
Hey, brother.
Good to see you, brother. Yeah, it looks like he went to the Broncos game, and yeah, that was rough. We started getting it together there and almost got that onside kick, but it just didn't work out. So
I don't want to hear it after watching the Cowboys lay the egg they laid.
Oh, and then here comes him rubbing salt in the wound there, you know.
I'm more of a Longhorn fan. Everybody knows this. I wear this all the time. My Longhorn different.
We'll give him the hook 'em horns over there from Mile High City. Yeah, number
Where's
one.
Andrew? Where's Andrew? Is he on here yet?
Oh yeah, he'll be popping in. I actually talked to Mark Candles about his idea, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. So, you guys out there want to spread the word? We're gonna do a segment from an estimator. Do your own thing and learn how to do your own thing through estimating. So I thought that was a really good call by Andrew. So we're gonna make it a segment in our High Voltage Live show on Thursday. So
oh, cool. All right.
It's coming up. I don't know when. I know Mark's getting over through the hurricane and everything, so it might take him a couple weeks. But like I say, whatever he wants to get it together, we'll have him up, and I'll stay in contact if Mark's watching or he sees this. I'll get in contact with them and get it set up. But yeah, it was an awesome week of football. I had a blast. And like I say, I really was not trying to do any cowboy jokes, but when I saw that meme, dude, I had to run it. That was too good.
Let's go ahead and run it. I saw that. Okay, you're busting on my balls. I don't blame you either.
That's so funny.
It's just like I've stated many, many, many times. Dak Prescott, he plays good as long as everything is going good. But if he has any adversity at all, he folds like he always does.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. I think the Lions are the real deal this year. I mean, dude, they are just firing on all cylinders. They look good all the way across the board. Like I say, I don't think the Cowboys are really that bad. I just think the Lions are that good. Like I say, I predicted at the beginning of the year that they could win the Super Bowl this year. Mm-hmm. And I picked like the Lions, San Fran, Green Bay. Dude, Green Bay is just coming out of nowhere. They totally surprised Arizona like that. I did not see that coming. And we'll get with the winners and losers of fantasy. I didn't quite get my slide to James, but we'll just, when we get to the fantasy part, I could just read them off. We got them all ready to go. But let's get with your college.
Yeah, what a great week, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, there's some teams that were lucky to win. I was like, it's every week the only team that's actually dominating their competition. Can we hear this?
Oh yeah, it's Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
All right,
dude, I'm telling you, I didn't have a doubt in my mind. I was even telling Andrew last week. I was like, I'll be surprised if Oklahoma even shows up to the game. Watching after the way Texas is playing, but
Texas defense dominated. God dang.
Well, yeah, I think they missed the first field goal attempt.
Yeah, well, everything they were even. In the second half they didn't even cross the 50-yard line until we put all the subs in.
Yeah, I did. I did hear about that.
I was like, man, that's some tough defense. Anyway, let's cue it up and go through
All
the
right.
3 games this week.
It's time for King James's college breakdown and ranking.
Well, as I watched the game this week, I was going back and forth between Ole Miss, LSU, and Oregon and Ohio State because they were playing at the same time, But
Yeah.
the Oregon, got to give them props. I mean, they beat Ohio State. Ohio State, they don't look that great to me. Ohio
True.
State is going to have some hard games, and Penn State was lucky to win too. But,
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Like and some of the guys that I was talking to are from there, and like it's funny because like they were like out in. So I think they played in Southern California, didn't they?
yeah,
And they were out there watching the game, and then next thing you know, they're like, "Oh yeah, they lost." And I'm like, "No, they won." And he's like, "How did they win?" So yeah, they were really lucky. I think they won an OT on that one.
yeah. Well, it was lucky, but that caused some changes in the top 25 this week. So
All right.
let's take a look and see what we got this week. That we've got everything set up. As we always look at, we go to the playoff predictor, and you can see that Texas has moved up to 96%. I was listening to a couple other different podcasts. One of them said, I think they've already punched their ticket. He said, I think they're going to whip Georgia. And, and it was interesting because he was saying, he said, when Texas played Mississippi State, he said they beat them by 22 points. You never felt like Mississippi State was even remotely in that game. He said, and Mississippi State gave Georgia everything they wanted and some more. He goes, we're going to hear the same thing about Georgia, And I was like, yeah, I mean, it goes both ways. But when you look at what has happened so far this year, the only team that has really taken care of their opponents, and there hadn't been any, where it seems like it's close, has been Texas. Texas has taken care of everybody.
I'll agree with that. And then you look at like what LSU did to Mississippi State too. That kind of shows the depth. Like I was really impressed with the depth on defense, depth on offense, depth on special teams. I mean, just like you said, they were pretty much playing their backup, their whole backup, like the whole second half.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, and it moved Oregon up to 84%. I think confidently, I sort of think you're going to see for sure. And I'm curious to see because if I'm not mistaken, let me look here because I could have swore that they were going to be playing each other, but let's just make sure. I think Penn State plays Ohio State in 2 weeks, don't they?
Okay.
They play 11-2. So that is going to be very interesting. And what I want to see at that point, if Ohio State loses to Penn State, let's just hypothetical here, then Ohio State, I would assume even at 2 losses, because I think they win the rest of theirs. I think all they have left really is Penn State that I think will be pretty hard. They do got Indiana and Michigan, but, we'll see. Indiana, I mean, they could be. They ain't lost a game yet. I think Michigan, I think they're done. I just don't think Michigan's there. So if Ohio State wins out, I think that puts them in the playoffs. So I'm actually looking at it, and I'm thinking you probably are looking very possible. Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon are probably going to get into the playoffs.
And we could see Notre Dame come out of nowhere and be somewhere in the hunt too.
I think Notre Dame's in. Notre Dame, I mean, they did have that one terrible loss, I
Yeah.
guess you could say, uh, to Northern Illinois. But when you look at what they now, I will say this: I'll tell you two teams that are playing pretty good that are going to give them trouble. I think Navy and Army. Well, I can't believe I'm saying this,
Oh,
but
dude, they
Navy.
always, they
Well,
always are have a tough program.
when you look at it, oh, I think if I'm not mistaken, Army's 6-0, and I think Navy is 5-0. But when
Yeah.
you go and you look at Army, uh, they they've been averaging 40 points a game.
Oh yeah,
I
dude,
mean,
their running game is on point. Like they can just run. They can just run the ball. You know.
yeah, and then you got the last game of the year that those two will play. Army and Navy will play each other. So,
Yeah.
but these teams have moved up. You know, they're in the top 25 now, and in 2 weeks, Notre Dame I think plays Navy if I'm not mistaken. So
Oh, Daniel's talking about Roll Tide. He's talking about Alabama
we ain't gonna have
because
no
they
letdown game. We
because
we
because didn't Alabama beat Georgia then go lose to Vanderbilt?
Yep, sure did. They beat Georgia and had a letdown game. But, you know, people say, oh, it was a letdown game. But I'll look at it this way. They played South Carolina, and they were lucky to get out of there with a win. Now, it'll be
Yeah.
interesting because uh, Alabama, their next 3 games, they got Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU.
Right.
That that is, if they get through that unscathed, then they're going to be in the playoffs. I'll just say it right now,
True.
they're in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting because the the SEC, man, is freaking tough. I mean, any
Oh
week,
yeah.
any of those teams can beat you. And right now, you're seeing 3 teams that are right there. You've got Texas, Alabama, and Georgia. Now, if Georgia loses, then to Texas this coming week, Georgia can't lose another game. So that
Yeah.
means they got to play Ole Miss. Okay, Ole Miss could win out and still be a 2-loss team and possibly get in, but they're going to have to beat Georgia. Both those teams, if Georgia loses, they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot. And see, this is exactly why I like the 12-team playoff. It's just
Yeah.
for this reason. Now, I'll tell you the one that interests me right now, and they're 5-1, but that is the Aggies. Now, the Aggies got Mississippi State, and then they got LSU. I know that's who they got. If they win that, and then the other hard one they got probably be South Carolina because they're going to play at South Carolina, and then they got 2 that they should win after that. I think it's Auburn, New Mexico State, but their last game will be Texas. If A&M wins out, and then they go to Texas, Texas ain't lost and say they lost to Texas. That's a 2-loss
Right.
team. I think they'll be in the playoffs from the SEC.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's going to happen.
actually Tennessee barely won too.
Yeah, and if you think about it, uh, it'll be pretty interesting because uh, the one I'm interested in is looking, and I just say this is Ole Miss, and I'll tell you why. Because Ole Miss, they got, I think they play Oklahoma this week, so I'm waiting to see how well they play against Oklahoma. You know,
Right.
Texas dominated them. I mean, there was no doubt about this. And then they got to play Arkansas. Then I think they get Georgia. So Ole Miss, if they win the next 2, they got to play Georgia. And if
Right.
Georgia loses this week, I'm telling you, that is a fight right there to who's going to be in the playoffs. So,
Yeah, and the way you got to think about it is when you're looking at your playoff predictor there, 6 of those teams are out.
yeah.
You
And
know, regardless.
and another one that will be interesting is looking at Tennessee because Tennessee plays Alabama this week. That will be one of it's pretty amazing because we'll have Tennessee as a top game this week against Alabama. Of course, we'll have Georgia and Texas. Texas will have back-to-back weeks as game of the week. But
Nice.
Tennessee's got to play Alabama and Georgia. Georgia has a very, very tough schedule to get out. If they, I feel they're going to try and throw everything they can at Texas because two of the games they got left are against Ole Miss and Tennessee in back-to-back weeks.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of big games that are going to be coming up.
Bless you. So you're saying that you're gonna have only 2 game of the weeks next week?
No, I've got 3 of them next week.
Okay.
Uh, I will have. Let me look here, and I can tell you.
Because Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee.
We will
then what,
have. Let me look here. I can tell you.
Was it Ole Miss, Oregon?
Wait, the other one will be Michigan and Illinois. You got number 24 and number 24 and 22. So those, I try to do the ones where you got ranked teams. Of course, you got number 1, number 5, Texas and Georgia that'll be playing each other. But there's going to be other teams that are going to be coming in. And then, of course, you got Alabama and Tennessee, which is number 7, number 11. So, looking at this, I think, you're looking at 12 teams going in. And I feel you're probably going to get 3 or 4 from the SEC and the Big Ten. So if I was looking at the Big Ten right now, we'll see how it all plays out. But I think you got Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and possibly Indiana.
Right.
So that's 4. So now you're going to be looking at the SEC. If Georgia doesn't win, I mean, they can't lose one more. So you're either, Alabama's got a tough out too. I mean, dang, I mean, I honestly think you're going to be looking at Texas A&M, and
Notre Dame's probably.
I'll tell you who controls their own destiny too will be LSU.
Yeah, LSU could be in there.
Yeah, I mean LSU could come up there, and then I think it's going to be Alabama. I think Alabama will be in there. I think you're looking possibly 3 from the SEC, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, so if you're looking at the Big Ten putting 3 let's just say what we think. Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, I think, can do it, and A&M. That gives you 6. Okay?
Right.
Then Notre Dame gets in, that's 7. Okay? So now you're going to be looking, and I think the Big 12, it wouldn't surprise me if Iowa State and Brigham Young both get in.
Yeah, and like I say, Miami could fall out. They're just trying to barely win in their games too.
Right. That's 9. Now, this is the one that gets me is because you get one at large there. Who would we be looking at? You're from the ACC, I think Miami.
Yeah.
And dare I
Clemson.
say this, it could be Clemson or SMU. Or it could be both of them.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe I'm saying SMU, but when you look at SMU, I hadn't looked lately. They're number 21 in the AP right now. And the only really, if they keep playing the way they're playing, the only one I see that becomes a problem is probably Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh didn't look that great. They're number 20. So they got Stanford, Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, and California. They could actually win every one of those.
Right.
I mean, so if they go all the way to where they lose just that one game, and then you look at Clemson. Who's Clemson got left? They got Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, the Citadel, and South Carolina. Clemson could win all the rest of theirs. And
Yeah.
then you got Miami, who's number 6. They were lucky to win last week. Freaking California should have beat them. But they've got nobody left. They got Louisville probably be their toughest. Then they got Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse.
The one thing that I'm seeing a trend with some of those top teams is they're beating themselves. They're making stupid mistakes. They're dropping passes. Like there was a couple of them just dropped wide open touchdown passes, wide open to the house passes, just trying to run before they caught the ball. There was a lot of stuff, especially with that Tennessee game, the Oregon game, like Ohio State. They could have actually had a better. I think the Oregon crowd was really getting to them because you could tell they had miscues, false starts, just uncharacteristic Ohio State football.
Yeah. Well, I think it'd be interesting because what happens if, uh, just hypothetical here, but let's say that Notre Dame loses to Army or Navy.
That could happen. I mean, dude, like I say, those are strong teams, man.
They
Like
are. So if
I would
that,
say Army's probably strongest out of like I say when I watched Army's running game, like they were just bulldozing people with their run game. It
yeah,
was incredible. Their blocking schemes, they were just opening holes. I mean, just gashing people like 14, 15 yards every run.
and see that's what I'm thinking. If Army or Navy beat Notre Dame, then Notre Dame's out.
Yeah.
They're out because one of them will go in as an at-large for beating them. I mean,
Oh yeah.
this is gonna be so interesting to see where those 12 teams are going to hit. And then I think one of the other at-large that's going to be in there is going to be Boise State. The only game that Boise State has lost this year was to Oregon, and Boise State uh, only lost 37-34. It was
Right.
all the way to the end. So I think Boise State wins out. I think they're getting an at-large. As you can see right now, they got them at number 11. And I think they move up a little bit each week. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Boise State's always kind of in that hunt. They just always have that really good program. They just always have that kind of West Coast style
yeah.
offense, and
And if you look, this went from week 7 to week 8, and they got the rankings here and everything, but I like the predictor myself because it really gives an idea who has a chance of getting there. But the one I want to point out is LSU jumped from 13 to number 8 in the AP.
right.
That's quite a bit. And then Iowa State went up to 9, and Clemson went up, of course, stayed where they were. But if you look at it, everything has almost stayed the same. The only place you had in the top 10 was LSU and Iowa State moving up, and then having Oregon and Penn State moving up, and Ohio State down to number 4.
Yeah, I'm not really sold on Penn State being a number 3 team. I mean, I just don't think they played that great of a game against USC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I mean, I think they could have probably played better, but like I say, they were on the road, so that makes it kind of tough. But at
Well,
the same time, it was like they barely pulled that off.
and if you look at it, you've got set right there where you've got Notre Dame at number 12. Well, one is
Yeah,
going to be in an at-large bid, so that's Boise State right now, as far as I can tell. And
right.
and that's why you're sort of seeing this the way it is. And there's going to be some movement here, like right here. A&M went up to number 14. Okay, and Andrew, when he watches, you'll see Oklahoma's no longer in the top 25.
Right.
So
Yeah, and like I say,
that's a dig after my
there you go.
uh, cowboy meme of the week.
There you go. Yeah, like the game with Kansas State and Colorado. I mean, that was a really good game. That was here in Colorado, and I got to watch that game. That was tough. I mean, we lost Hunter in that game, um, and like I say, when you kind of lose your top guy, it's kind of hard. But that K State quarterback, man, he was just freaking slinging the rock. He was doing a good job, accurate passes, using his legs, just basically just keeping their offense moving, and we didn't have an answer to stop him.
Sure.
But
And then this got you into your coaches poll, and the coaches are saying the same thing. I mean, they moved LSU up to number 8 and Clemson number 9. The only thing they didn't do is move Iowa State up. I put Iowa down there. That's my mistake. But looking at this, I think you're going to see some movements that are going to take place here.
right,
Something's got to give here in the next couple of weeks. Who is going to be actually maintaining where they are? And that's why I say if Texas beats Georgia's, I mean, they're on the bubble. I'm telling you.
yeah, I would agree. After that game, they're gonna be on the outside looking in. And the one thing I wanted to say too is that you kind of notice this trend between like your AP rankings, college rankings, and my power rankings in the NFL. Everything right now, 7, 8, week 6, 7, in there, all the stuff's starting to settle out. You're starting to see who's who. You're starting to see which team's a real deal, who can go the distance, who could be that playoff team, because it's not just a cut and dry thing. And you'll notice a lot of my power rankings are kind of all over the place. Like I think actually the Cowboys moved up this week in my power ranking poll, and like I say, next week that's gonna change. But at the same time, it's like who knows? The way Dallas is, they might actually win a close game or something next week, and they got dropped to like 20. You know what I mean? So it's you'll notice a lot of these rankings, a lot of this stuff's gonna start settling out, and you're gonna start seeing like where people actually sit.
Well, I'll tell you the thing that's been amazing me about the college is the parity now, and I think what's happening, you've got all these good junior college players and Division 2A players, and they're getting NIL deals on these other teams, and you're getting better talent in. And I think that's why it's getting, where these games are close like they are. Take Vanderbilt. They got that quarterback. They paid to get that quarterback. He's made a difference for them. So I just think it's awesome. But anyway, let's get into the stats of the week. And I'll give Oklahoma kudos for one thing. You scored first, and that's the first time all season Texas wasn't in the lead. But you got your score, and that was it. you didn't get anything else.
They had 2 drives to get 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
They missed the first one. I was like, oh, man.
Well, the first one they were held. There was an interception that gave them the field position.
Right.
Other than that, they didn't do anything. And if you go in and you start looking at everything, you'll see the first downs were even there and everything, but that doesn't really tell the story because Texas is so potent of an offense. They get big chunks of yards. So you really can't ever look at their first downs in a game. What you have to do is look at the yards. And they had 406 yards of total offense. And if you take and look at Oklahoma, they had 239. But let me tell you, 60 something of that come on the last drive when all the subs were in. So,
Right.
I mean, they were barely over 150, 160, 70 yards up to that
Yeah.
point. And when you come in and you start looking at it, you'll see that we had 7.4 yards per pass, but the rushing attempts here, when you look at it, we were at 5.9 and they got a measly 2.4 yards per carry. That
Right.
is that is just unbelievable.
Well, yeah,
And
you can't get a first down. If you're only getting 2 yards of carry, you're
sure,
gonna go 3 and out every time if you're trying to run the ball.
and I'll tell you, you watch that game. I'm gonna tell you right now, Texas was popping the hell out of them. I mean, it was unbelievable, and they had 2 fumbles because of it. And
Yeah.
but where you really start to see it is when you get in here and you look at the running. I'm gonna say Wisner. Um, he's becoming a great quarterback, running back. I mean, he was 13 carries for 118 yards. He averaged 9.1 yards a carry.
Did
Uh,
they start? Did they start Ewer?
yeah, Ur started, and uh, he was 20 of 29 for 199 yards. So,
It's pretty
you
pretty
know,
good numbers.
he's getting back. You know, he hadn't played, and I'll tell you, Golden, they did a pass out there. He just didn't get the pass out there, but he had a touchdown pass, and Ur missed 2 touchdown passes. Um,
Right.
it was it, but I'll tell you who's been really good for the Longhorns this year, and I'm gonna give him his props. Is Gunnar Helm? He's the tight end. He had 5 catches for 91 yards. I'm gonna tell you what, that guy is a player. And then Ryan Wingo, hell, pretty much every time he touches the ball, it's a big play. Uh,
Nice.
he averaged for 2 receptions 24.5 yards a catch. So that sort of gives you an idea of how it went. And then when you get in and you start looking here uh, uh, at the fumbles and everything, um, Wisner had a fumble, um, but you know they didn't
Well,
lose.
what was the overall giveaway takeaway ratio?
We recovered 2 fumbles, and uh, that that was it. We had 1 fumble, but they didn't recover it. The receiver recovered it in the end zone. So after a big run on top of that, so we basically won the turnover battle. But where you really start to come in and see it is Texas had 5 sacks and 11 tackles for losses. And I mean, they were pretty significant losses on a couple of them. And if you look at Oklahoma, they just had 1 sack and 6 tackles for loss. That's a big
Wow.
discrepancy there.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, you're just pretty much just letting Uber just set up and set up shop, and you can't get him out of his comfort zone with that kind of pressure.
well, and I'll say this: one of the guy that come out and really had a hell of a game was Anthony Hill Jr. He had 11 tackles, 7 solo, and he had 2 sacks. But the one that got me is he had 3.5 tackles for loss. He's their sophomore linebacker. He was a true freshman last year, and as far as I'm concerned, he's playing at an All-American level this year. But
Right.
uh, there's so much talent all over the place. I'll tell you another one that was really sweet is watching Silas Bowden. That one punt return he grabbed and took for 55 yards. I thought he was gone when he got it. And but you just look. All you have to do is just look at the stats and everything. Texas dominated the game. They just
Right.
leave it at that. They proved they were #1 team in the country. And if they beat Georgia next week, if they beat Georgia by double digits, I feel they'll get every vote in the country for first place at that point. So
True.
then that brings us to the LSU and Ole Miss. And
Nice.
what a game it was.
Yeah, that was actually featured on uh, Moose Sports live stream. So if you guys check out Moose Sports, he streams a lot of these college games. So you could always go out there on YouTube and watch these games and just do like a watch along and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Well, the thing that surprised me this game, I actually thought it'd probably be LSU had more rushing yards, but they didn't. They didn't rush good at all. The Ole Miss defensive line's really good. They gave up 84 yards rushing, and LSU gave up 181. But the stat that's interesting is LSU had 337 yards passing, and Nussmeier, that's 2 weeks in a row. I think he's thrown over 50 passes.
Right.
So he was 22 at 51. And when you look at the total yardage, basically what ended up happening was Ole Miss had 44 more yards. There were 2 turnovers. Ole Miss had a fumble and an interception, and LSU threw 2 interceptions. You look at the amount of time controlling the ball. Ole Miss had the ball more time, not by much, but most of the categories you see here, you can look and see this was going to be a close game. So
Right.
the thing that amazed me, at the first there was people when they started out the season, they were saying Jackson Dart, he's going to be in there for the Heisman, all that. Well, he didn't do nothing this game. All the big games he's played in, he ain't done nothing. Now, Nussmeier, he's in the conversation. So I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing what LSU does the rest of the way. I personally think Ole Miss is going to lose to Georgia when they get there. But
Right.
when you look at this is where you see the deciding factor right here. Ole Miss defense had no sacks and only 3 tackles for loss, and LSU had 6 sacks and 9 tackles for loss.
Oh yeah.
That right there. And how many times have I said this is the one stat I always want to look at?
True.
Because that one stat could be the stat that turns the game to where a team wins by 3 points.
Oh yeah.
I've
And
said that so many times.
Yeah, if your defense is getting that backfield on a consistent basis, I mean, it's just wreaking havoc. Doesn't matter if you're trying to run or pass.
That's right. And when I was looking and I was watching the game, I'm watching the game. I'm sitting there sort of doing stats, seeing what they did and everything. And I was like, this was the tell of the game. And I believe it's this stat right here that mattered the most to get LSU over the finish line. So
what was LSU's rushing yards? I know you might have said it. I just
they had 80 something, 87, I think it was 86. They had 84 rushing yards.
okay. So they were passing on them. Seems like
330 something yards. Nussmeier played great, but you come in, you look at kick returns, punt returns. You don't see anything that happened there that could have changed the game. So it just came into both of them held the ball about the same amount. What made the difference in the game? The difference in the game, in my opinion, were those sacks and tackles for loss.
True.
So, and that's one
that.
reason I love looking at the stats, because it really tells a lot. Then we get into the real game of the week of all of them, was Ohio State and Oregon. It was 32-31. I was surprised he ran the ball on the last play and then tried to get down. I was like, even if you get down, get the first down, you ain't going to have enough time to snap that ball and spike it. So,
Right.
for whatever reason, I would have been throwing that ball. But with that being said, you're going to look here and you're going to see all of these stats are right there together. I mean, this is how close this game was. Oregon had 18 first downs. Ohio State had 21. But the part I always look at here, other than we get to the sacks and stuff, is total yards. Oregon had 496 and Ohio State had 467. They were pretty much even on passing and pretty much even on rushing. So that brings you down to look at the time of possession. Even though Oregon had more yards, they're more of a big play offense like who? Texas.
Yeah.
They got a lot of speed out there. And you look at the time, Ohio State held the ball almost 7 minutes longer. But that didn't matter. You make the big plays during the game, and that's what changed it. So when you look at Dylan Gabriel, he was 23 of 34 for 341 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is a hell of a day. And then you look at Will Howard, he's 28-35 for 326 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that is awesome quarterback play from both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, if he would have did a better job either getting out of bounds or figuring out a way to stop that clock, they were in field goal range.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
And I'll tell you, he transferred from Texas A&M and went to Oregon. Evan Stewart's a freaking stud. I'm gonna tell you right now, he had a long of 69, but he had 7 receptions for 149 yards.
Wow.
That guy is good. I know people are thinking he may go to Texas, but Texas, I don't know why they don't have anything to do with him. I don't know why. He's a good player. But I'll tell you, Ohio State's, that Jeremiah Smith, he's a true freshman. He's a freaking stud, man. He has 9 receptions for 100 yards, and Emeka Egbuka, he was 10 of 93. That guy's going pro next year. He's the next in line. He's probably going to be first, second round pick. So, you know, you go in, you just sort of look at everybody they have here. All these stats are right there together. So then that brings me over here, and look at this. The only sack in the game was by Oregon, and they had 3 tackles for loss. Ohio State, no sacks and only 2 tackles for loss. Right. So that pulls into basically what I've been saying here, and what we end up having, a 1-point game.
Yeah.
So Will Howard, as good as he played and everything, he just didn't get down quick enough. He should have thrown the ball, and hopefully somebody got out and they could have got first down and spiked it. But
or even just thrown it away.
Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the game. So
yeah, because they were already in field goal range.
But look at kick returns and punt returns, nothing. So looking at the stats and everything, it goes along with just exactly what I've been saying. The stats prove that it was going to be a close game, and it ended up being a 1-point game, which Oregon ended up winning. So next week, as I was saying, we got the 2:30 games that'll be played will be Alabama and Tennessee. Then we got Michigan and Illinois, and then the night game, don't call me Saturday night, Bill. I'm not answering. I'll be watching Georgia and Texas.
I might call you, but I'm not expecting an answer.
I won't answer. You know I won't. Yeah, you call you later. So anyway, that's my wrap up for the college games of the week. That sort of proved exactly everything I was saying about the college games this week. And, you know, it's funny because each week we do the breakdown, the college, and all the stats we go through, I think, prove exactly about what that score would be. I love looking at the stats. That's my favorite part of doing all this.
Yeah, and like I say, there's a lot of people that always are telling me how much they like, you know, how we break it down a little bit different than everybody else. But
you know, I watch a lot of different podcasts and stuff, you know, Like now I watch some of the SEC and uh, uh, they just get in there and they just talk about the game and players and things like that, but they never break down the game, and show exactly the stats and everything. I think when you look at the stats and all that, you really start to see what the game really consisted of. And you can see, just like the one we looked at, what was the difference between the Ole Miss and LSU? It was those sacks and tackles for loss. I'm telling you, it made the biggest difference in the game. And, they never talk about it. It's always, I hear most of them they're talking about individual play and the quarterback and, if the offensive line sucked or, it's like Oklahoma. Their line's playing better, but their line was no match for Texas. And looking at the sacks and tackles for loss, it proved why it was a blowout, and, but, I think it's always good to look at the stats because the stats actually reflect what happened in the game. So,
dude, we forgot because Daniel's gonna be in here going on the quiz. We forgot the old music.
oh yeah, here. Let me get you queued up there, Daniel. I apologize. Here you go. I didn't.
the 6-time reigning champion Willie Quiz champ.
I think y'all been teaming up on me.
I don't know. Actually, I kind of did a little bit of a repeat one. We probably already did this one, but it's gonna be easy because you'll remember all the answers. But I think I found a way to trick you, and I think I figured it out. I think I got a good way. I don't think I'm tricking you tonight. This is just a practice to see if I could repeat a quiz, and then you know what I mean, and
okay.
You could still remember them all. So I think this is an easy one. I think you'll get them all tonight. I think everyone will be a winner tonight, but it was just something I wanted to do, and it was just it always kind of brought back memories for me.
Okay,
That
sounds good to me. All right, you ready to do your NFL breakdown?
Let's do it.
Let me cue you up.
Now it's time for Willie's NFL breakdown, power rankings, and fantasy.
All right, I got your top 25 in the house, or all your division breakdown.
Yeah. So we had the Bears going across the pond over to Europe, going over to England, and they played a really awesome game against the Jags. Had a really good win, sitting solid at the 17th spot. Vikings, they had a bye. I want to say they had a bye this week, but they're sitting at the number 1. Packers had a really big win against the Cards, and they're sitting solid at number 8. Lions has destroyed the Cowboys at home, which totally shocked me. I didn't expect that at all. And they're sitting solid at the number 3 spot. They might even move up. Then you have like the Saints. Saints looked all right. Like I say, I was really surprised that Tampa Bay ended up getting the upper hand on them because they had some pretty good interceptions and they actually had the lead in the game. One point, sitting at the number 16 spot. Falcons played a really good game. Cousins had a good game. Falcons looked pretty solid, sitting at the number 12 spot. And Bashan Robinson, he had combined, he put up 25.5 fantasy points, so that was pretty amazing. That was pretty cool if you had Bashan. Then the Panthers kind of had a little bit of a rough day, but they stayed in. Probably just going to stay in that basement for a little while till they get a little bit better moving the ball. Bucks, I can't believe they're at 9, but they pretty much showed they deserve to be there by dismantling the Saints at the end of that game. Texans looked pretty solid. Granted they were playing against Patriots, but there was some hiccups. I had the Texans defense on my fantasy, and they're sitting at the number 4 spot. I think that's pretty solid. The Colts, that's actually the Colts are my final countdown winners of the week to win that game in the final countdown. Sitting at the 21 spot, they're in kind of tough trouble, losing Robinson and happen to go with Flacco. So we're really hoping that we get him off of injury. Then we have the Titans, which I was really kind of rooting for the Titans just for the fact that I had Pollard and I was watching his fantasy points rack up. But I still lost in that fantasy league. So it was all good, but Colts pulled it off against Titans. Titans over at the 26th spot. Jags, they were supposed to kind of get off the schneid and go over there to London and kind of put a whooping on the Bears, and that just didn't happen. They looked pretty dismal. They did put up some pretty decent fantasy numbers overall, but still going to remain over in that 27th spot, and they probably not going much further. We already probably gave King James a little bit of crap on the Cowboys, but they're sitting at the 13th spot. I would look for them to bounce back from that crushing and probably do a little bit better next week and probably stabilize around like the 15, 16 spot. Eagles didn't look great. Like I say, I was pretty disappointed in pretty much every one of their offensive weapons when it comes to Sean Barkley and Gobert. I guess Gobert was like a 1 minute decision because I lost him on my fantasy. I started him and he didn't get no points, so that kind of crushed me. But they still beat the Browns and stay in the 11th spot. Washington's just been showing that they're just kind of that real deal and that they're just gonna continue to smash it up. But they're sitting all right in the 6th spot. I expect them to kind of drop a little bit. Then you have the Giants, which Giants are not out of it, but they're all right. But sitting at that 23 spot, they still have some weapons on offense. The Ravens are just showing every week that they're that force to be reckoned with, sitting at the 5 spot. I thought the Ravens played a really good game. Like I say, then we had the Steelers, and the Steelers are actually hanging pretty tough. They're looking pretty tough. I think they are a top 10 team in the AFC. Then we had the Browns, which they're kind of getting crushed a little bit, sitting down at the 30 spot. And then Bengals. The Bengals, they've been having really good games. They've been getting their running game going, but just haven't been really able to turn that corner. We'll see what happens for the Bengals. I don't really see them being really a playoff team, but sitting at the 24th spot. The Rams on a bye this week kind of cost me because a bunch of my fantasy players were from the Rams and really good producers, Karen Williams, and I have Whittington on wide receiver, and so they were on a bye, so that kind of crushed me a little bit. But they're definitely going to move up from the 27th spot. I don't see them staying there after their bye. Seahawks got pretty much disappointed. They got pretty much blown out by the 49ers on Thursday Night Football, and I don't see them staying at that 15th spot. The 49ers played a really good game. I'm surprised the 49ers are able to win at the level that they are, as banged up as they are, but they're pretty close to getting McCaffrey back. they should have some of their weapons back, and they're staying pretty solid. Purdy's been keeping them on track and keeping on the winning column, so I expect them to move up from 18. Then we move on to the Cardinals, who basically got destroyed and embarrassed by Green Bay in Lambeau, which, that's kind of, par for the course when it comes to Lambeau. It was rainy, it was drizzly, the Cardinals couldn't get anything going, and they're just going to probably chill down at that 22 spot. Chiefs were on a bye, I believe, and they kind of slipped to that number 2 spot. I don't really see them moving too much from that number 2 spot, but they could dethrone the Vikings, and I think I could see that kind of going back and forth. But I believe the Vikings are still undefeated. And then Chargers whipped up on the Broncos this weekend. They came out firing, looked pretty good, getting all cylinders going. Broncos came back. At least we didn't get shut out at home, but I expect the Chargers to move up from that 19 spot. Broncos in that 14 spot, everyone said that they were too lofty of ranking at that 14 spot. They ranked the defense at number 2 in the NFL. That was proven to not be true this weekend. But like I say, I just kind of report these rankings as far as they come through. And then the Raiders stand right at around 25 in there. Raiders, they seem all right. They seem like they're moving the ball a little bit, but still just staying down in that below that top 25. Then the Patriots, they played okay against a pretty tough Texan team. They did have a few good drives and punched the ball in, which I was actually surprised, but they're going to stay down in the basement at 31. Dolphins were on a bye, I believe, and they're sitting down pretty low down there, like 25, 28, somewhere in there. They're sitting down pretty low. Bills are playing tonight. They're sitting at 7. If they have a strong performance tonight against the Jets, I could see them moving up, but we'll just have to see what happens with that. And then the Jets, I think they're going to stay pretty solid at right around that below top 20 kind of team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like I say, these are all starting to kind of settle down a little bit, and they're all getting pretty accurate, except for the Cowboys, but all the rest of them are,
Shit.
Yeah, so we'll try to get it figured out. We'll get the Cowboys settled down where they're supposed to be at.
That's actually funny. All right. What an ass kicking here too.
Yeah, so the game of the week that I thought was the Detroit and the Cowboys game. Like I say, was that the game I picked? Or was it? No, it was the Saints, wasn't it?
Yeah, Saints.
Oh yeah, so Saints Tampa. That's always a gang fight every year. I know. I'm gonna just get off the Cowboys. All right, I'm sorry. I'll leave it alone. All right, sorry about that. But anyway, it was not a game of the week. The game of the week was the Saints and Tampa Bay. And like I say, it started out right away. Tampa Bay going down the field, scoring, and putting the Saints down. I think they were down 21-0 or 24-0 at one point. And then Baker Mayfield threw a bunch of interceptions. Like I think he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions like right in a row. And the Saints capitalized on them, got back on the board. And I think at one point Saints were actually leading. I want to say it was like Saints are leading like 24-21 or something like that.
They were up 27-24 at half.
Okay, gotcha. And then Tampa Bay just turned on the Jets and turned on the afterburners, and they just took them down. I don't know if the Saints even scored after that. Like, I think they might have scored another touchdown or
They
maybe another
didn't.
field goal.
If you look, it shows right there the box score. They didn't score anything after half. The thing that amazed me
Right.
was Tampa Bay. They almost had 600 yards of total offense on them, and they averaged 8.2 yards of play. So,
Right.
but when you look at it, I mean, they were pretty damn balanced. I mean, they had 317 yards passing and 277 yards rushing. I mean, that's balance right there.
Yeah, and Chris Godwin, their wide receiver, racked up 35 and a half fantasy points. So if you had Chris Godwin, you did incredible this weekend in fantasy. But and Baker Mayfield actually did pretty good. I think his interceptions kind of dinged him a lot because I went and looked, but I think he was still good for like 27 or something or 26. I don't remember, but I have him on one of my teams, and I should have started him. But like I say, a lot of those interceptions and stuff kind of ding you on the points, so that's where you got to watch out. If you get a quarterback starts throwing 5 interceptions, but that was my biggest thing was the turnover battle. And I think New Orleans had a couple fumbles that they lost too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you look at that stat that James wants to look at, which is tackles for loss and stuff, it seemed like it was a pretty big defensive battle once Tampa Bay kind of took it onto them and had all these points on the board. Then it seemed like New Orleans defense woke up and started playing pretty strong defense because they started like picking it off, and I mean they were picking them off like in the red zone and stuff. You know, I think they had at least 2.
If you actually look at it, Tampa Bay had 5 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. But the one that got me is even though they had 5 sacks, they had 10 QB hits. And New Orleans only had 1 sack and 4 tackles for loss and hit the QB 2 times. So that tells me right there the Tampa Bay defense was getting to the quarterback.
Oh, and their car's out too, so they had their backup quarterback.
Oh, sure.
So that kind of made it hard too, and you know, like I say, I was kind of disappointed a little bit with Kamara. He had an all right day. He had some decent yards, you know, but not anything that was gonna like win him that game, you know. And then they basically just went back to New Orleans after halftime, you know. They were pretty much done. They were out of that game. I was expecting them to kind of be like a little bit of a barn burner and just slug back, but they didn't. They were pretty much done. And so, like I say, it was a good game. It was a lot of fun watching it. And like I say, it went back and forth. And I actually was hoping that the Saints would do a little bit better.
Sure.
Fantasy this week, Chatter League. Cameron had a really good week. He played really well. Got back to 3-3, 500. Paul's perfect team stays perfect at 6-0. Rising Rhino finally gets a loss. He got crushed. Like it was not a good week for certain people. I think he got 3 injuries. Harrison got hurt, and so he had just injuries left and right, and then it just crushed his total. I think he only had 10 points off like 3 guys. Goose Sports. Sitting pretty strong at 4-2. Scott Lundquist, Oil Can, got a beat. I beat him somehow. We were even at 4-1. I somehow got him. He got injured too. Taylor got injured last minute, and so then he got a goose egg on that guy. Long Ball Stoners hanging in there at 2-4. I moved to 5-1. The Dino's TSST got a win. Went to 3-3. Jay's Beetlejuice over there at 1-5. 42 Sigmas at 1-5. Run CMC, really tough opponent. Somehow, didn't freaking get a chance to pull it off all the way against Paul's perfect team, and took a loss to go to 2-2. True North Maniacs, going a little bit backwards, going to 3-3. Kermit's most stats at 2-4. Room is Remarkable at 2-4. Nico at 2-4, and TJ's Talented Team at 3-3. So that's the Chatter League with Rising Rhino. And then for fantasy this week, just disregard. This is like my slide from last week. I didn't get a chance to get my slide in all the way. I was busy winning poker tournaments yesterday, but so the winners in fantasy this week are going to be number 1, Chris Godwin from Tampa Bay, 35.5. Number 2, Caleb Williams at 28.6. Chicago. B. John Robinson, Atlanta. He got 25.5. Jordan Love just crushed it with Green Bay at 25.62. That was a year high for him, a season high for him. Joe Mixon just keeps crushing it with Houston. He put up 27.2. The losers, number 1 was Dak Prescott at 3.22 fantasy points with Dallas. Shaquan Barkley with Philadelphia only had 7.4. Kyler Murray, I have Kyler Murray. Luckily, he had a good enough performance to help me win, but he was still only put up a dismal 11.96 with Arizona. DK Metcalf, I had him on Seattle. He only pulled through with 7.8. You might start dropping people if they're just only putting up 7.8. And then DJ Moore with 6.0 with Chicago. And there was actually some really good players on Chicago that really did pretty decent, this week. Chicago really put up some good offense over there and across the pond, and there was a lot of I was blown away. There was a lot of Chicago fans over there in London. So
that's cool.
But a lot of these names that's up here for top rank, and that was one thing I was gonna say since you have this slide up, is Cole Kmet had a freaking amazing day. Like, he was another winner. Like, I put in Dallas Gilbert instead of Kmet, and I got crushed. Like, I wish, that's why I say this graphic's really not accurate, because Gilbert just had a horror. Like, he ended up getting hurt and didn't play, so I ended up getting a goose egg from Gilbert, and I could have put in Kmet, and Kmet just had an amazing day. So that's the kind of things you get burned on fantasy. Sometimes you gotta kind of do your research and just go there. But
yeah,
and then we had the
final countdown. That was cute.
Time for the final countdown of the week.
All right, so this week the winner is the Indianapolis Colts. Win the final countdown with the win over the Tennessee Titans. Joe Flacco has been around the NFL long enough to know that the backup quarterback should always be ready to start. And, like I say, there's not really good praise out there for Joe Flacco. And, he had to kind of buy some time, He was getting pressured, and then he just kind of tossed up a little mini Hail Mary to Jarius Sneed, he had Jarius Sneed draped over him, and then it was only a 10-yard touchdown pass with 7:27 left, and the Colts took the win 20-17 over Tennessee. It was really amazing, like, to watch it, because he just kind of threw up almost like a basketball kind of throw, and then the receiver didn't, like, he just like high pointed it and brought it down, and basically scored the winning touchdown. It was really amazing, and I was really surprised, because I thought that, like, Tennessee was just going to go right down the field and score and win the game, but they just basically fizzled out, and they were pretty much done after that, and the Colts were able to hang on, and like I say, it was that little play from Flacco, and Flacco's still got it a little bit, you know what I mean? He's been in the league a long time, but he pulled it through for him, and like I say, I'm really hoping to get Richardson back. Been really crossing my fingers that, because I have Richardson on my team, and he was a solid performer. He was, cranking off, anywhere from 17 to 20 points every week, and crossing my fingers that he comes back, but we'll see. He was still on day-to-day, and they still don't know if Richardson's going to be back for week 7, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on your fantasy. If you see like a little red mark in there that's like an O or a Q, then that means there's a chance they're either out of the lineup or they're questionable. So you might have to go get a backup. This week I actually started Kirk Cousins instead of Richardson, and Cousins actually paid off. He did solid. So like I say, I still lost, but you know what I mean? It was still like, a better option. But now, like I said, the Chiefs were on bye, the Dolphins were on bye, Rams are on bye, so with me getting all those players back for week 7, it's going to be, I think Willie's wild team will be back on top again, so we'll see. But I went 1-3 this week. The only one I won was Chatter League, so all the rest I got crushed. So just injuries and people not performing, and so if you're on my fantasy league and you didn't perform, you're getting dropped this week. So you know what I mean? Get some winners in there. I need heroes, not zeros.
All right.
So,
that brings you to your last thing today. You ready, DJ? Daniel.
Oh, yeah. Better get up in here, Daniel. Better get up in here.
All right. Let's cue you up for your Willie quiz. Over here.
You are now entering the zone of the Willie Quiz. Enter at your own risk.
All right, so this is going to be kind of a little bit of a review, but we'll see how much you guys remember. All right, which school holds the record for the most NCAA football national championship claimed titles as of 2023? Is it A, Notre Dame? Is it B, Alabama? Is it C, Yale? Is it D, Michigan? Or is it E, Ohio State? Good luck, everyone.
Well, there's only two answers here. I guess it depends if you do it during the BCS area, golly, because I think Alabama, they have 16 or 17, but Yale had like 19 if you're counting those.
Right.
They were at 18 or 19. I can't remember, but I think Yale has the most national championships that are claimed.
Ooh, Daniel's going.
So he's thinking
Yale.
like me. I think it's Yale too. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Yale because I think Yale has the most.
You're gonna copy Daniel.
Yeah, I am.
All right. Well, you guys tonight are correct, and that is the correct answer. C, Yale with 19.
19. Okay, I knew it was 18 or 19. I couldn't remember exactly. And Alabama's like 16, 15 or 16. I can't remember.
Right.
So okay.
All right. Which team won the first ever BCS national championship game in 1999? Was it A, Florida State? Was it B, Tennessee? Was it C, Ohio State? Was it D, Nebraska? Or was it E, Notre Dame? Good luck, everyone.
I'll help you out, Daniel. It was the first A and B played each other, so you got to pick one of those.
I didn't. Oh, Daniel picks A, Florida State.
No, it was B, Tennessee.
So I realized that I already ran this question again, but I got Daniel and King James is right. It was B, Tennessee. So
I know it was.
I can't believe that was an accidental repeat question, but it's all good.
Well, I actually knew that, and then I remember watching the game when they started the BCS national championship, and I knew it was Florida State and Tennessee, but Tennessee ended up winning. I knew that one.
I know it was a repeat question. I think I already had it in there. All right, which of the following teams has never won an NCAA football championship? Is it A, Auburn? Is it B, Oregon? Is it C, Georgia? Is it D, Clemson? Or is it E, Penn State? Good luck, everyone.
Well, I know.
See, now Daniel's going to be coming out saying that it's all rigged and everything.
B, Oregon. Oregon's never won a championship. I know Georgia damn sure has. I know Clemson did. I know Penn State did, and I know Auburn did. So I'm
all right. Well, looks like you're going to copy Daniel and say B. So, all right, you guys. I guess if you're going to copy each other, then you are correct. It was Oregon. That was another repeat one that I realized, and I was just like, I'll just let it roll. But
that's an easy
it's all good. All right, what school was the second in the most recent college football playoff national championship 2023 season? Was it A, Alabama? Was it B, Georgia? Was it C, LSU? Was it D, Clemson? Or was it E, TCU? Good luck, everyone. See,
Well,
James, I told you it was gonna be easy.
well, this was last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, we actually talked about it on our show.
Well, you know it ain't TCU, Clemson, or LSU, and it wasn't Georgia because they wasn't even in there, so it has to be Alabama.
Well, wasn't it TCU against Georgia?
You would be going back to 2022.
Was it?
Last year was 2023. They wasn't at TCU, wasn't even in the playoff.
Was it Alabama that lost?
Yeah,
Well, all right.
it had to be them. That's the only one that's listed there that was even there. Georgia wasn't even in the playoff. 2022 was TCU.
Oh, that's right, huh? All right, I put down the wrong thing. All right.
I know damn good well who played.
Yeah, everyone gets the right answer. I screwed it. I screwed it up. I was going too fast. I messed up. I put the wrong year in there. I meant to put 2022.
I don't even
But-
know. I don't even think Alabama was number 2, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, there's no way it could be them others because they wasn't even in
Yeah.
there.
Daniel got me, man. I messed it up, man. Yeah, it's all good, Daniel. Everyone gets a point. So,
Well, that's why I was like, you could have made that a little better because there's only one team that even had the chance to be number 2.
yeah, I think I meant to put 2022, and I screwed it up.
Now, 2023, it was Washington that went number 2.
Because they lost to Michigan. Yeah.
Yep.
My bad. That was my fat finger. I messed up on that one. All right. Which conference has produced the most NCAA football champions in the BCS CFP era, 1998 to present? Is it A, the Big Ten? Is it B, the SEC? Is it C, the Pac-12? Is it D, the Big 12? Or E, none of these conferences? Good luck, everyone.
Well, looking at this, I would have to say you would have to go with the SEC. I think they've won. I mean, between them, Georgia, LSU's won. I mean, I'm just looking. I think Florida had some in there. Thinking of all the teams that have been in there, so I don't think the Big Ten has won the most.
Ooh, did Daniel go A?
Yeah, I'm going B. SEC is. I'm trying to think. You got,
Michigan's in Big Ten, aren't they?
yeah, but they ain't won that many. I was trying to think who's in there.
It's definitely between A and B.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with B because I know Alabama and Georgia and LSU. They've won quite a few. I mean, I'm just thinking the BCS there. Yeah, I'm gonna go with B. I think the SEC's won more than anybody.
Oh man, King James, I'll just have to tell you right now, you are the king tonight. You win 5 for 5. You got them all. So I need to up my game, and obviously I messed up, man. I messed up, and yeah, Daniel, we're gonna have to do some Mile High trivia, the Mile High Stadium trivia about what you have to do when you leave the stadium or something, and try to like get King James on that or something, or like
College football's my jam, baby.
which side of the stadium is the the Ring of Fame on. Like we'll have to get something like set up, like which side is parking lot B or something. You know what I mean? Like we'll get something in there where like only we know it, Daniel. That's
I wouldn't know
that's what we have.
that.
What's that?
I wouldn't know those in Denver. I'd be
Yeah, you know what I
guessing.
mean? Like, because we were just there, so, like, where did I take a selfie right below the Denver Broncos horse? Like, what side of the stadium was I on?
That's funny.
But, yeah, but Daniel's a good sport. King James, you're a good sport. It's been pretty fun. Like I say, we did this whole podcast to bust on each other's teams, and like I say, it's you can bust on the Broncos. We got crushed, but we didn't get like 47-9 crushed. But you know what I mean? Like we still got crushed. So
we just do the podcast to have fun. I mean,
yeah,
we like going through the stats and looking at the games and everything. Just having a good time. I mean, and I'm up for no, you're not. That's bullshit right there. I'll tell you right now, that ain't right.
Oh man,
that's freaking rigged.
Dude, actually, Daniel's got a pretty good record though. I mean, he's up there. Like
Daniel, I'm gonna say this to you. I'm gonna pull a Jeremy Weed out. You show that documentation.
Oh, there you go. Be like, you show me a screenshot of me saying 47-9. Like that's what always cracks me up about it. And then he'll like message me the next day after the podcast. He'll be like, "You guys are freaking idiots!" And all this stuff. I was like, "Come on and freaking, come with the messages." Like, and I think he realized it pumps into our views. So whatever. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I really appreciate everyone who comes by, jumps in the show. We're gonna start a new segment next Monday. And we're going to raid out to some other YouTubers that are streaming other games and kind of get out there and kind of mess around with like Rising Rhino, and maybe Mossy's over there streaming on his own. Maybe he forgot that I sent him the invite, but we'll see. Like I say, we might have Mossy on next week. He's pretty cool out of Saskatoon. He's a Saskatchewan, Edmonton guy, so try to get some Canadians on here and just have some fun talking football. He's a big Miami fan. He's
oh yeah,
Miami
college have fans all over the world. I mean,
yeah, So he likes Miami in college, and then I can't remember who his NFL team is. I'd have to ask him again what his NFL team is, but he's got all different teams than what we do, so it'd be kind of fun to have him on. So I'll send him. I'll make sure he remembers that I sent him the invite link. Maybe he was busy beating me at fantasy or something. I don't know, but like I say, it's a lot of fun doing these. And like I say, I kind of realized it once I did the quiz that I probably already did a lot of those, and it was kind of a little bit of a repeat. But like I say, of course, Daniel. What did Daniel say? Rigged. So, you know what I mean? Like, I already had all the answers out there, and somehow I rigged it because King James knew them all. And so, probably next week I'm gonna do something different.
It's just so easy for me.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Like I say, next week is Denver Broncos parking lot orientation.
Hell, I even had to correct you on your own question.
I messed that up, man. Like, cause it was like I knew you were gonna get it, but like I didn't realize that I put 2023 in there, and I'm like, oh man. When I looked it up, I was like, oh man, I meant to put 2022, cause we did it. We covered it live on our podcast, remember? Cause they got crushed. Like it was a
just
down,
to give you an idea, I wouldn't have missed that. TCU is literally a mile and a half from my house. I
Really?
mean, I'm right here by TCU. I've been to TCU games even, and I remember watching TCU when I was a young kid. I remember they were doing an expansion. Dad was the chief, and they basically just gave us tickets. We went out there and we were out on the field watching the game. That was back in, God, I guess that'd have been 19. Let's see, I was probably about 10 years old. So about 1972, 73. So,
I bet you had a Coors freaking belt buckle on.
and a
That was real
cowboy hat,
shiny,
my buddy.
real pretty.
I was looking good out there. All them cheerleaders were kissing all on me and everything.
There you go.
I was like, rah, baby.
Yeah. Nah, I screwed it up. So that actually gave Daniel a point too, because he got TCU right from what I was trying to do on the answer. But like I say, me and Daniel, we don't talk about what's going on, so no way of him knowing that. So it was my mistake. I was supposed to put 2022, and I screwed it up. But
No worries.
like I say, I just have fun doing them. I'll try to write better questions next week. And like I say, it's pretty hard too, because I took number 1 first place in a poker tournament, and that was pretty fun. So I knew it was going to push me tight on writing the show, and I didn't have probably enough time to write a good quiz.
No worries.
Feel free to reach out to me, like if you're out there, anybody in the sports world, if you have a topic that you want me to try to stump King James on, just let me know, and I will write a quiz for next week, and we might even just do NFL. I don't know why I wanted to do college so bad, but like I say, it's a lot of fun. Like I just have a lot of memories with like college and college playoffs and college championships and all that kind of stuff. So just brings back a lot of memories. So that's why I wanted to do it.
We'll let you do next week, and then the next week after that, I'll write a quiz for y'all.
All right.
Let y'all
That's
guess.
cool. Yeah.
So
I'm
I'll
down
pull
for
out
that.
some good doozies on there. Y'all be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Like that's where like now Daniel's gonna be like writing a podcast about you, how you're cheating. You know what I mean? Because like you're freaking trying to fool us, and I'm making them all easy so everyone gets them right. You know, so
Love it.
like you're just gonna be the bad guy, and that's fine. You want a podcast about you? Have a podcast about you. I don't care.
I'm always a bad guy. All you gotta do is just go over and look at the things they say about me, and I don't do anything.
How have you not had a podcast about you yet? You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's probably because you're a name in the industry and they don't want to do that. All right, I see how it is. I'm just the easy target, so that's why they make the podcast about me.
They did do one. It was about you, but they did say I was riding Daddy's coattails.
Oh, there you go. All right. They at least honorable mention you.
I got an honorable mention in the podcast. So.
Oh yeah, you could go up there to McKinney and say stuff to their face too, you know. So
he wouldn't. He'd probably soil himself.
yeah, probably. But no, it's really awesome. Thanks everyone for showing up, talking about your favorite team. I really appreciate John popping in. Means a lot to see that meme. That was so funny when I saw that meme. I'm like, oh, I gotta use that. And DJ Daniel, awesome popping in here. A lot of fun doing these. And like I say, I got the challenge flag tonight. My quiz got done, and it's about time for King James to flip the script, put me on the hot seat. I think he's had enough abuse for the whole time, so it's probably time I get the hot seat and get crushed every week. Dude, I'll be honest, I couldn't get as many right as you've gotten. Like most of them, when I'm sitting there writing them, I'm like, I didn't know that, you know. And then you're like, oh, I know that. And I'm like, damn it, you know. But it is what it is,
now, you know. You got to remember, you know, from my about mid-20s to about 45, for about 20 years, I went all over the country instructing. I'd take a day or two extra while I was there and just visit the area and go see things and all of that. And, you know, I've literally got to see the country. I've been all kinds of places all over the country. Some places, I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna be up there. I may take 3 or 4 days. One time I took a week and just stayed up there. I played some golf, went visited places, and I was just doing it by myself. Sometimes Dad was with me. We would stay, but when you had that opportunity, you're already there. You might as well go and see all that stuff. And I used to go see all the places, the battlefields, and all of that stuff. I'd go see monuments. Went to a lot of museums. I remember I was up in Delaware, and up there in Delaware, the Stalkup family, we were very, very well known in the library that's there, the cemetery, the courthouse. A lot of the stuff that was there was donated by the Stalkups, the land and everything. And when I went into the library, I was just wanting to do some research, and I told her I'm looking for history on the Stalkups, and that's when I learned all of that. And she goes, Stalkups? She goes, you a Stalkup? I said, yes, ma'am. And she goes, 1 L or 2 L's? I said, 2 L's. She goes, oh, you're really kin to the original Stalkup family here, because the ones that were there were 2 L's instead of 1 L in the Stalkup name. And she started showing me history and everything, and that's how I found out all those items had been donated and all that. And I spent I bet you I was there about 6-7 hours. I went around, saw everything, and she was telling me where to go. It was really cool. I just, it was part of the family, so I want to go up there and learn about it, So nice. I tell my family the history and everything, so they know about it.
Oh, that's cool. So, awesome. Well, like I say, the Snyder name is like a East Coast, so we're all known on the East Coast, and my great grandfather William Snyder was an electrician on a Navy ship in 1790s. So to me, I was blown away. I was like, holy crap. My whole family's been electricians, and what do you do as an electrician in the 1790s? Like, I was blown away. Like, when I saw that, I was like, that's crazy. Like, how are they getting power in 1790s?
Right.
So it just blew me away. I was like, wow. I was like, I must have been a really good electrician back in my, my great grandfather must have been over there just running a bike with a wheel on it and turning lights on or something. I don't know.
I'll tell you this, on my mom's side of the family, my great grandmother is Betsy Ross, who sewed the American flag. That's true.
All right.
And word is that I've heard that she was a big University of Texas Longhorns fan.
I bet you that's correct. I'm gonna go ask Weedman if that's true. If he could go find out some documentation on that.
He'll tell me to show the documentation. He's going to tell him.
I bet you there's a little Longhorn sewn into that original flag somehow.
It's somewhere in there. You just gotta look. She, it was her trademark.
All right. Yeah. Maybe. I'll bet you that my great grandfather said that ACs are not outlets. Like back in 1790, I bet you he said no, that's not true. You got
to show the documentation. It's got to be in there somewhere.
Never know, but we had a lot of fun hanging out with y'all tonight, and like I say, my fantasy and chatter league, I actually won, so I should be like second place now, tied for second. Awesome. So it's pretty cool. Me and Rhino up there at the top and having fun doing that. Thanks a lot, Rhino, for inviting me. And if you guys get a chance, go check out the Rhino Nation over at Rising Rhino channel on YouTube. Check out Moss Sports World, and also go check out all the other badass streamers that I feature in the Chatter League fantasy football. And I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up, James. I had a great
Sounds
night,
good.
and yeah, thanks
Hook
so
'em horns,
much.
baby.
Appreciate. Go Hook 'em Horns. Thanks everyone for joining us, and y'all have a awesome Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
and
we'll
remember,
see some of y'all Thursday.
And remember, make every day an easy day.
Amen.
So, you know what's funny though is that
Oh man, it's
Paul.
trying to end the stream. How do you do this?